welcome to this special program on RICS Conference, Transforming the Indian Real Estate Sector 2020, winning consumers, investors and regulators. Indian real estate sector has continued to be characterized by lack of regulation, transparency and standardization of practices. As the world's leading body for standards and qualification, RICS has been a strong advocate of professionalism and has been working to institutionalize global best practices in India. Today we bring to you snapshots of the recent RICS conference that discussed the crying need for the sector to completely revamp its image in order to gain the confidence of consumers and investors. Let us begin by hearing the views of Mr. Sachin Sandhir, Mr. Arun Nanda, Mr. Lalit Kumar Jain, Mr. Niranjan Hiranandani and Mr. Mike Holland.
Despite a strong growth, the construction industry continues to be riddled with impending challenges pertaining to problems of high fragmentation, low productivity, poor quality, and lack of standards. Most projects are completed over budget, take too long to construct, and include disputes that may need to be resolved by legal means or arbitration. Awareness of internationally recognized best practices across disciplines such as construction standards, quality safeguards and guarantees, design and technology, green environment and sustainability will all contribute to the developers gearing up to manage larger size projects than they've historically been exposed to. Given that the state of the industry today, it also becomes a tough ask to sift out the so-called black sheep from the flock and ensure that the industry works with people who possess a certain level of knowledge, experience and competence. This establishes the precedent for ensuring a high degree of professionalism in the realty sector, as is seen in several other professions like accountancy and medicine, which are large international multidisciplinary practices highlighting consistency of service and culture. To enable such a transition to take place within the industry, real estate and construction organizations need to develop and extend to staff the principle of recognition through professional qualifications. I do feel that the time is right for the sector to completely revamp its image to regain confidence of consumers, investors, occupiers and regulators to chart out a roadmap for year 2020 and create a strong and vibrant real estate ecosystem. As an industry, we do need to respond, reform and regulate, and more importantly, deliver projects on time and deliver exceptional customer service, which are areas which the industry has been traditionally found wanting in.
Which is the worst industry for the banks to lend? The least priority, I won't use the word, the least priority is our industry. And I've sat on the board of banks, I've sat on the board of a very large public sector bank, and as I told you, I'm a dumb accountant, so one thing I understand is money. We are probably the most secure industry, because if you put up a plant based on a technology and the plant doesn't work, you have to sell it as scrap. And probably 10 to 15% or maybe 20% in case of high tech is purely soft cost of developing technology. Our land is 60, 70, 80% of the cost, and nowhere, even in the 2008, the land prices did not go down. It was only the building prices which went down in some areas. So if I was a banker, I would look at banks, look at real estate as probably the most secure lending, and they don't want to touch us. Why? I go back to my first word, the trust, because they don't trust us. And I think that's what we need to do. Do we feel guilty when we delay a commitment to a customer? We have now started getting worried because the consumer courts have started getting active. Because we read in the papers, the consumer court picks up somebody. Why should you be regulated? Why can't we make sure that we are responsible to our customers? And where in gold and diamond, it is actually more it's not so transparent, because everybody doesn't have a machine to check what the transparency of gold is. But everybody who comes to buy a flat, whether it is from Mahindra or Niranjan or Jain Saab or Firdaus Bandrawala, you know, he's worried, will he give me on time, will he give me the square foot, what is the difference between built up and carpet and super built up, what are the other charges, will it come on time? Why? Why doesn't it happen when you buy a car? It doesn't happen to us when we sell a tractor or a vehicle. It happens to us in the real estate industry. So I think if there was a single thing I was to say, I would say we should build trust in all the segments that we do it.
The construction sector contributes to 17% of GDP, second largest employer. However, the treatment or the notice that government takes of this sector is vulnerable. We are vulnerable in terms of our representations. Prime Minister calls for industry consultation. Real estate and construction sector is not part of it. There has to be reform of mindset. If you are talking of more than 50% population going to live in urban India, what kind of focus you need towards urbanization, towards real estate sector? Is it there? Maybe. We are culprits for our situation, maybe. However, the wisdom should prevail to take cognizance of these challenges and do the right thing.
I think we need to have a mindset which needs to be changed. You can't create housing without appropriate water. You cannot create housing without transport. You cannot create housing without road network. And this was far beyond and behind what was necessary for the purposes of the cities. That many of us stand in this platform and say it cannot be done. This is the biggest mistake. You can say the problem is RBI, the problem is the corruption, the problem is the minister, the problem is the road, the problem is the pothole. But let's be very clear between ourselves as industry and as government that it shall be done. There is nothing that we cannot do. If Lal Bahadur Shastri could create green revolution with hardly any money in 1970, if he could create the telecom revolution which brought down the cost of airtime from 33 rupees a minute to less than 1 rupee a minute, and that we have more mobile phones in India than we have people in India, then I think the transformation which is necessary to create this revolution is available. It can be done, it must be done, and it shall be done. And all of us must commit who are sitting in this room.
The RICS is launching its global real estate brokerage standards with a view to establish standards and guidelines and a code of practice for brokers in the industry. This is based on 12 high-level principles towards fairness and transparency, and I would say as an added part to that, that is all part of the customer centricity. And Mr. Hiranandani's comments around the fact that TV media plays its part in the changing industry, I think we've seen how social media can influence that, and I'm absolutely certain that social media will drive more transparency and more consistency in our own industry in the residential area. This is an excellent, momentous occasion, and I would now request the dignitaries on the dais to kindly release these standards to the audience and media.
With stagnating sales volumes and liquidity constraints, what different avenues can developers now turn towards? What will be the development focus going forward, and where will the demand come from? This RICS session on real estate trends in 2012 deliberates on the future of asset classes and investment hotspots in the country.
Supply is going to continue to outstrip demand retail banking in BFSI sector is going to drive, the retail sector is going to have see a transformation or significant transformation. The investment market is probably going to revive by end of this quarter as the demand kind of picks up again for commercial office space. There will be a drop in demand this year for commercial office space, but it won't be significant. And overall, the lead indicators, inflation, industrial production indicators, inflation, interest rates, everything is kind of trending in the, or started to trend in the right direction. So really in concluding, we're talking about the positive macroeconomic factors in India balancing off the negative news in the world. And I think that will result in the real estate being in a subdued space over the next year or so. Right?
Perspectives from top leaders in terms of what are the next big ideas, what are the next big opportunities for owners, occupiers and investors of real estate. Few people in the Indian real estate industry who has been a corporate real estate head in Standard Chartered Bank, then became a fund manager in Starwood, been a developer in TCG. What are those key learnings from the global financial crisis which all of us can learn from?
When the times are bad, that's when you learn the most, and you're compelled to learn. I think that's what is happening across most of the development companies that we meet. And now customer is becoming more and more important, and there was a time when developers never used to talk about the customers, you know, but now customer and what customer needs, whether it's a commercial office customer, whether it's a retail shopping center customer, or a residential retail customer. So everything is centered now around what he needs.
A huge oversupply overrun, which may go on reducing, and a lot of buildings will not actually come up because input costs have gone up dramatically, capital is not easily available, and the capital costs have gone up. So you're not seeing too many people pouring concrete on speculation. And that over 2013, 2014 will create a situation where you might see a spike in demand and there won't be supply. And you're seeing that across verticals of the real estate, save and except residential real estate.
Clearly, I think there are a few things that I've picked up amongst what's been happening. First things first, I think, like any other sector, we find that when the gold rush happens, everybody jumps in. Not enough homework has happened. Should I be there? What should I build? How should I build it? How should I manage it? I think that's something which, by and large, as a sector, and there's not about A or B, but I think as an industry, as a sector, we've kind of just overlooked completely. This is a very in the favor of the consulting kind of guys in our industry, but I don't think they've been taken as seriously as they should be. So I think that's something clearly which I think has happened.
Comparison to countries like the US, UK and South Africa, which are fairly regulated, a regulator for Indian real estate has remained a dream. In this interesting debate, watch what the regulators, developers and other industry professionals talk about their views on who needs to be regulated and how.
To begin with, let me clarify here, there is an overlap between the consumer protection, which has of course been guaranteed by the Consumer Protection Act. But at the same time, Competition Act 2002, in its preamble, very clearly highlights that not only we are here to protect the businesses or all kind of markets, to promote and protect the markets, but at the same time to protect the interests of the consumers.
We're a trade body of developers. On an all-India basis, we have CREDAI, which is the Computational Real Estate Developers Association of India, and in Mumbai we have the MCHI, which is the Maharashtra Chamber of Housing Industry. We have decided to self-regulate, that is to create an entire list of do's and don'ts that developers would comply with, and what are the consumer redressal mechanisms that can be put into play.
Okay, thank you, Vanessa. I think I might move down to the other end of the table and then people can begin to see who signs up and who doesn't.
tax returns are the only ones who get rated or the only ones who get regulated, right? There is a whole group of developers doing unauthorized constructions, and these structures are booming day and night in cities like Mumbai also. There's no one regulating them. Those are the guys who are really getting, the shirts ripped off their backs. They have, slums coming up and being sold at 3 and 5 and 15 lakh rupees. And there are all kinds of elements in the market who are loaning out money at usurious rates to these people to go ahead and pay, buy them, make them slaves for life. So while I say it's very good that you regulate those at the upper echelons of society, it's very important to take care of those who are at the very bottom end of it. And maybe the government would do better if they started taking care of the bottom of the pyramid first and then started moving up, because the top end of the pyramid, I can speak for all developers associated to CREDAI or NCHI, have a brand value to protect, but those guys have really nothing to go for. So it is my humble request that while you do go after the biggest in the business, please also keep your eyes open to all the stuff that's happening at the bottom end.
I just say one sentence. Unfortunately, that is not true. The big brands in the real estate have been found to indulge in such kind of practice, and therefore, to say, come out with it that look here, we have a brand, and therefore, if you have the brand, then I expected I'm not indicating not a regulator of real estate, but regulator of the market, expected that they should have had their own self-governing or self-compliance competition program.
Enforcing, I think CCIs, I'm surely, it will go well. People will start coming. People will start, looking at it. But I think at the end of the day, and the enforcement will become effective only when somebody starts feeling that I'm wrong at this point of time, or I'm wrong at this place. Otherwise, you look at real estate, I have my own doubt that you can bring a structure like a SEBI, where you have, like in financial market, for example, you said that the share has to be traded or started face value should be at 1 rupee or 10 rupee, Or you have a kind of so these kind of a thing, real estate is very difficult to, come into it. Especially in countries like India, where 26 states are 26 countries, sub-countries, this one and kind of thing. It's very difficult to enforce it. The enforcement has to come from within.
Actually, consumers aren't the best people to know what's going on, so we do have to have well-informed consumers. How stakeholders in this process, from government and through to developers to everyone else, educates their consumers, I think is the subject for a whole new discussion, but educating consumers, confident consumers make markets work properly. Market coverage, yes, I think it has to be. One-touch regulation, I was really interested by the bit about this is an end-to-end process. It's landlord, it's finance, it's development, it's broker, it's consumer. Unless you treat that regulation as an end-to-end process, actually regulating the process rather than regulating it differently at each stage, then it's going to duplicate and cause a number of problems.
The next session would focus on key investment strategies to make the sector more attractive for lenders and investors and to increase the flow of capital. Let's hear what our banks and investors expect from developers before extending credit.
So the way I've organized this session, basically, winning investment strategies, and what we've been asked to do is effectively engaging with private developers, investors across.
That up, there is a greed that got added now to prices in sale. Right. That greed has to go first, then we have to correct a little bit if required, also, depending on supply and demand.
You have a point, and I think in general we all agree it's kind of overshot the last high, and therefore that's why the sentiments is not going to go up. But I also believe last 24 months, whatever launches that have happened are at par. They're at the right level, whether the sizes are low, whether there's a new promotion scheme that they come out with, and they're selling. They may not be galloping, but they're selling. Now, given those levels of all those new launches, wouldn't there be some appreciation? And I'm talking about certain projects very specifically, don't want to name those developers.
In terms of our perception of this marketplace, I think there's a lot of money to be made. Residential is clearly an extremely underserved market, and I'm not talking about the bottom end of the pyramid, neither am I talking upscale housing, and I'm talking about genuine value housing. And I think in fact, I think the same would apply to commercial office as well as retail. The time for retail is not at present, according to us, because of certain structural challenges, but its time will come because, you know, this is clearly one of the largest consumer markets globally that remain untapped.
Overall, I think there are two challenges when I see. One is obviously how do you fund the developer better? And from a bank's perspective, how do you fund priority sector assets? Because increasingly, one of the things which banks would need to do and they have to achieve the targets is the priority sector lending in case of mortgage or loans below 25 lakhs. So I think that's a slight amount of, you know, divergence between the two. When you want to fund the best developers because they have proven track record, their risks are much more hedged because they have multiple projects at a point of time, better cash flow. Financial discipline varies from developer to developer. I think these are the points which banks would like to see when they lend. But at the same time, when I look at the retail lending part of it, where there's a need to do a lot of loans less than 25 lakhs, we struggle to see good developers in those markets whom we can tie up better and ensure that our retail penetration also happens. So I think there is a need to balance between the two. And one, I think I agree with the panelists saying taking a long-term view. I don't see quick gains are going to help in this direction.
I think the other point that's important to make is from a structural perspective, it's a lot easier to come and do realistic stuff from the domestic equity side, simply because, you know, there's no restriction on size, there's no restriction on exits, so it becomes easier for them. But if I had to stick my neck out and say that, you know, the foreign private equity firms have taken positions in developments that are much larger or in asset classes, residential specifically, mostly because there are exits there. It's easier for them to make money and get out, not necessarily because they don't want to invest in commercial real estate or they don't want to invest in any other asset class. You know, like Chan mentioned, I think retail is a big story, and I think there'll be a lot of money that comes in. I think it's important to understand that, you know, when Sandeep mentioned we can't build any more malls here because of the new DC rules, these are some of the things that need to get, you know, that need to get addressed fairly quickly if we have to continue to grow the way we have to grow.